Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. So in today's the last class and we are going to learn about like finally how this project will be like after going to production, right? How the end product will look like and how you have to create user stories and also test plans and also UAT test scenarios and how you have to coordinate with the business owners. Okay. So first, before going to like a test plan and all, I just want you to show like in the final end product, for example, now. So this project went live on September 2016, right? So I'm going to just show you the final end product in their web portal. So this is their web portal, Veterans web portal. And if you see here, they've asked for, like, for example, you can opt in. Okay, so here very clearly they says that how to manage your electronic options, okay, for sharing your medical health records. So if you see here, they've told that either we share your electronic health information only with participating non-veteran providers when they are treating you. If you want us to share your electronic health information, you don't have to do anything. So that is because we are implementing that project. So what is the main goal of our project is like we need not ask authorization for every single transaction. Okay. We automatically include you in electronic sharing. If you don't want us to share your electronic health information, you can opt out anytime. Choosing to opt out won't affect your access to care from providers. But if you opt out, your participating non-veteran providers may not get your records before treating you. Okay, so this is the project that what the BRD what I'm talking is this is the enhancement that they have done. So this is an existing web portal, okay, even back in 2015, but this option was not there. Okay, so very clearly we have to make sure this is popping on the web portal and also how to opt in. Okay, so there are various ways a person can opt in. Okay, they can do it online. For example, they can go to my health vet website. So this is the my health vet website. Okay, so they can go here, they can sign in here, and then they can go to health records and they can click on the electronic sharing options. If they opt out also, they can directly opt out during web portal also. This is like one of the ways to opt in and opt out. Okay, so or what is the meaning of opt in? Opt in means you're giving access for the system to share your information. Opt out means you are asking for authorization. So without my consent, please don't send any of my records to anybody. Okay, that is the meaning. Opt in means you're giving permission. Opt out means you're like saying no. So you can do that by online or you can do that by in person or mail or by fax. So online, you're going to use this website, but if it is going to be by mail, then they have an address. You have to that paper is there. For example, this document. I'm going to click on this document. Okay, so I've already downloaded the document. So this is the paper document. So what you have to do is you have to print this document and you have to write your first name, last name, middle name, your SSN, and also your signature, your date, and everything. And you have to either send it through mail or you can send it through fax also. So they've given here two options. Either you can do it in person. In person means every region will have a veteran health facility medical records office. Okay, so you have to like you can go and find in your region where is your local that facility health facility, and you can there'll be a box option there. You can go there and you can drop it, or you can do that by person. In person you can submit this form, or you have to do it by mail. So there is an address given, so you can send that whatever you once you fill this form, right, you can send it that address, paper records, or you can send it to by fax. So there are like multiple options how a person can opt in. Opt in means I'm telling you, opt in means they're giving access for this web portal. So when we say web portal, in the sense there are two systems, right? Like for example, WAP and VHIA. The whole project is about like a multiple systems using this opt-in option. For example, if it's web-based, it is My Health app. Or if it is something like, for example, like a different system, like there is also VHIE, there is also Kiosk, there is also e-benefits. So I'll show you how the e-benefits portal works. So if it's e-benefits means that's a different So this is e-benefits for veterans. This is also a United States department only, government-based department. So where you, if you are a veteran, you are from ex-military, you can apply for your benefits. Okay, so you can apply for any kind of benefits, pension benefits, or you can remove or add dependent or education. You are going for some kind of education, you can apply that, or you're for home loan, because in US veterans means they have some discounts for everything, almost all the loans they have discounts. Okay, and if you have some disability compensation, so there are a lot of benefits they can get. So to use this portal also, our project is going to be made use of, because in this one project, okay, so in this opt-in project, there are multiple systems in the back end which is getting affected. For example, even though in the front end it is my health vet. Okay, it may look like a single application, but in the back end, right, you have so many systems interacting with this web portal. For example, you have e-health exchange, you have this kiosk, you have e-benefits, and also you have this WAP system. WAP is for authorization, right? So all this is being in the back end. So for you guys, it may be looking like a single website, but this is not a website, right? This is a web application. Also, on a front end, this may look like a single application. In the back end, right, this system may be interacting with multiple systems. For example, authorization requests, providers, for also all this e-benefits also may have this direct link with this application too, because everything is considered with veterans, right? So if they want to access, for example, veterans go to this website, and if they apply for some benefit, and if the e-benefits department is going to like get the health record from this system, okay, electronic health portal, even then at the back end the transaction will happen. You may not know, but one system will have at the back end multiple interactions with multiple different systems. Okay, so but as a BA, you have to like, so what is this project about? You're making sure that everything is displayed in the front end for the end user. For the veteran, they are very clearly, we are saying that you can opt in by online, or you can opt in by by in person. You can like download this form, and you can put it, go to the local medical records office, or you can mail us, or you can fax us. If they mail us and fax us, it is going to take some processing time. If they're going to do it online, it is going to be very quick, okay, compared to other options. So if there are any questions, they can ask this to this number. It's working from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. EST. So you have to make sure this is getting displayed. So you have to accordingly, you will write your BRD. So what is our first epic? Our first epic is nothing but automatic opt-in, right? Enable the veteran to automatically allow the disclosure of health data without a signed authorization when the policy protected health information is not present. Okay, so this is our epic. For this epic, we are going to write a user story. So I'm going to now to Jira board. So Jira software is the software the business analyst will be using in most of the Fortune 4 companies, 400 companies. This is the software they're using. So we are going to like create a user story here. Okay, so I'm going to click create. Okay, I'm going to click on story. So in that story, I'm going to, for that epic, right, automatic opt-in, I'm going to create a, like I'm going to now individually, like for example, let me take a new one. So for this epic, we don't know how many user stories needs to be created, right? We need like a developer's input on this. Okay, this may look like simple, but in the front end, if you see on the final product, so what needs to be done? So if it's through online, through portal, then they have to log into this, go to my health website. Okay, and then they have to sign in here. And then if they don't, they are already a member, then they have to register. So if I just want to sign in, I have three options. Okay, so if I don't have this already, if I'm not a member, then I have to register. Only then I can enter into this web portal, and then only I can opt in, right? So that is a requirement for online. For in-person or person, uh, like for mail and fax for other options, you have clearly like attaching the opt-out form and opt-in form. So we have two forms. This is opt-in form. and this is opt out form. So I'm just click on opt out form. So if opt out means, so here we are saying that opt out sharing form. It means like I'm not agreeing for sharing my medical records to other entities. So if you want to share my records, please call or something like that. They have to like give this form to us. So first name, last name, middle name, SSN, and the date and signature. So we have to make sure if this form is attached here, and if they are downloading and sending to us, okay, for the Veterans Affairs Department, that scanned form, any paper record, okay, whether it can be opt-in form or opt-out form, needs to be in our system, right? So because we don't want to lose this form. This is the only form which says there's a signed like a signature here, right? So they are signing us and they're giving us a date and all, you're opted out. So tomorrow if there is any problem, we need to have this image in the database so that we can show to them that we have an opt-out form that you have signed for this particular date. So we cannot share because people will forget that what form they have signed. So all this will be like, this may look like a simple single epic, but you have to cut down into like so many user stories. So when we say user stories, depending upon your sprints, for example, your sprints can be like a 2 week sprint, your team may have a 3 week sprint, like very short sprint, and you cannot do all this activity in that one sprint, right? So this may take like 3 or 4 sprints to complete everything. So first you have to make sure you're doing this online option. Then for paper, what are we going to do? Of course you are attaching the documents here, but once we receive the documents, okay, once we receive the signed documents from the member, what is the process that we are going to do? So someone has to scan it, and then someone has to make sure that is like loaded into a like a system where all these documents are kept digitally. Okay, forever it needs to be stored digitally, and then we are going to make sure that this is getting updated in the database. Like for example, there's a common there should be some in the database, there be some table, right? For example, like whether they're opted in or opted out. So somewhere in the backend table, this options like this for this member, they have opted out, or for this member they have opted in, like this we have to at the back end, right? It has to be stored in the database. So that end to end flow, like our engineers only can tell us like how this can be like within how many hours, if we get a paper signed form, and if it's scanned and if it is like loaded into our system, and then like how long it will take to for the database to get updated. So all that is all like little, then it will go a little bit technical, right? So uh, our engineers will have all that question, and they're going to ask you. You cannot just simply write in like everything in plain English and say that do this for me. They'll get confused. So I'll give you one example. As a veteran, I need to automatically opt in so that I can share my medical health records to a participating providers. Okay. So very like small. What is the difference between epic and user story? Epic in the sense you are like giving in a very, very high level. High level, you are saying this is what I'm doing. But for this one epic, you may have multiple user stories, and also depending upon how many engineers are working, how many testers are needed for this, and in the back end, how many systems are interacting with your web portal, and how long we need to test this scenario. So depending upon that, we are going to like cut down into different user stories. So for example, this can be one user story. Okay, so this basically means what we are going to do is we're going to make sure that in online, let's say first this is online. Okay, so what your member has to do is the member has to be like, there are two scenarios here, no? So first is like the member, mm, So steps, you can always say that, like, for example, what is this? Like, for example, step one, what we are going to do. Step two, what you do. Like everything detail you have to go. The story is complete once the veteran is able to log into My Health Vet and opt in for sharing the medical records to the VA participating providers, provided it is a policy. Provided they don't have any policy protected information. Okay, so we are going to write that, and everything related how it is going to get displayed, and how, like, once they go here, what are the positive scenarios or negative scenarios. For example, if they have not an existing member, then they cannot do that opt-in. They have to be registered. Okay, so if they register means then it goes to a register page. Okay, so registering in the sense whether you are a veteran, also your first name, middle name, last name, social security number, month, date, and then whether you are a male or a female. And it is asking you some kind of these questions. Again, you have to ask all this to business owners what needs to be in the registration page, and um, they have to able to log in. If this is an existing functionality, then you need not worry. So this is already there. We are going to make sure that anyway, this is all register page is already there. You have to make sure they are registered, and they are going to, once they're registered, right, they can opt in. They can click that opt in button so that we can share our health, their health records to other entities. So like this, for online, you're giving that scenario. For mail, as I've already told you, these two forms. One is opt-out form, and opt-in form needs to be attached to this front end. And we have to clearly give instructions that you will need to fill out a opt-out form. Okay, this is that form. So you'll need to fill this opt-in form. Okay, like this, we have to like make sure we give instructions properly in the web portal. So because they are veterans in the sense, sometimes they can be very old people. They don't know how to like register and all, and they are always looking for something like it's better to mail. So let me click this download in my home printer, and then let me send it to the office. Or they may be the facility can be very nearby, within 5 minutes. It's easy for them to drive and drop it there. So we have to give multiple choices. Of course, all this is business decisions, but as a BA, you have to clearly like write down in the requirements that how we can opt in. Okay, and what are the different ways of opting in, and suppose in case, what is the SLA? SLA means like within how many hours, if they're submitting through paper, within how many hours it will get updated in our backend database, and who can review it, that opt-out form, right? Who will have access to review it? For example, here, when we talk about access levels, here we say primary access, who can run the reports and who can see the reports, who can add the information, who will be having right access. So it is basically all the Veterans Medical Center employees, ROA staff, on VHA Office of Informatics or staff, and Health Information staff, and also like all these staff, right? They will have read and write access, meaning they can run the reports, okay, and they can add the veterans information. Meaning, if you call, like for example, like you sent in through paper, and you're not able to do, you have some doubt. Now, like if you are a member, you can call this, and customer care is able to, like for example, you call them and say that I want to opt in. I don't want multiple calls every day for authorizations. Please please like select opt-in option through phone they are sending. Now the customer care is able to update it. Whether they're able to update or not, you have to write it here. What is the user level access? Okay, who will be the primary staffs who can run the reports and add veterans information in our web portal, or in the, so that that changes whatever done in the web portal. It can be through customer care, it can be through anybody, business owners who are reviewing the paper documents, or it can be anybody who is working in this ROA staff. Anybody can edit the information, right? They have right access. And who is going to have full access? The admin, system administrator, means IT department. Okay, we are going to have full access, because anything in production issue, we are able to, we can either fix it by temporary fix, we can modify data, or we can edit data, add data, delete data. But these are like, you have to be very clear when we say, when you get full access, don't touch anything in production data unless you have a production incident and someone is asking you to change changes. You're not supposed to do it, even though you have full access to prod data. Okay, so all this access, user level access, also you have to write down here very clearly who will be having what access, so that accordingly we can give them access in the backend. So who can edit the data, add data. So accordingly in the database, right, in some particular tables, this for this member has opted in. There will be an indicator, opt in, opt out. For example, it can be like we say indicators, right, in the table. So that for that you need to know SQL, a little bit of technical. Um, I don't want to get into technical now. So engineers will take care of like how that like indicator needs to be there. Okay, for opt-in means yes or no, like this, like any some kind of indicators will be there in the tables in the backend. Accordingly, when you run the reports, right, using that, how many members have opted in for last month, or how many members have opted out in last month. If the business owners are asking you to some kind of give run reports and give you using that indicators, you can actually like get the data for them. Okay, so so after you create like multiple stories here, like yeah, so you create stories here, right? So depending upon you have for creating the stories, right, it needs input from both your give me one second. So you need inputs from developers too. You simply cannot write in plain English. So you have to like give them various scenarios here. For example, technical scenarios here. Like for example, if it's online, so initially first they have to need a login. First of all, they need an account, right? So they have to sign in. If they don't, they're not an existing member, they cannot do through online. Or if they are doing it by paper, right? What is the turnaround like? If it's through paper form, they're submitting that paper form, so where it is coming, what is the address it is coming, written address, and in written address, right, who's doing the scanning? Okay. Once the um, paper is scanned into a digital document, now like where it needs to come, which system? We have to understand which system it is like stored, storage system, and then how it is like updated, finally, how it is updated in the database. So that when you run the reports, you are coming to know there is a paper document, okay, updated in the database, and how the business, if it's had something like, if you're not able to understand, for example, there can be some scenarios where you're not able to understand like their in handwriting, you're not able to pull that. Okay, for example, first name, like there is a coffee spell, or if there's going to be something like invalid handwriting, okay, and the system is able to scan it, but the OCR process, okay, is not able to extract that data. Then in that case, for invalid scenarios, what are we going to do? What is the business route? So valid scenarios, of course, it will be scanned. You are able to get the first name, last name. You're able to tie that to a member record, and they are going to store in the database, and everybody is going to view that image. That's fine. But if it's going to be invalid records, now what are we going to do? So what is the alternative path? Okay. So even though the document is loaded, but you don't know, because we don't have any member ID or veteran ID here, right? It's just about like their first name and last name. So for all those invalid records, we need to ask the business owners, like, what is the process you want to follow? It will be scanned, but where do you want us to send? Should we send it to your email ID so that you can review that, because there is this handwriting is invalid, the paper is scribbled, or we are unable to extract that data from the paper? What should we do? So for all the invalid scenarios also, you need to discuss with the business owners, and you need to ask what is the data flow for all those invalid scenarios. Okay, so that you will do. Then you will create all the user stories here. Once you create all the user stories, and then only you will be like, um, with the help of the developers and testers, now you will have like understanding like what are the different ways this data is like passing into our system, what is the existing functionality, what changes we are making to the existing functionality. Now, how can we test all these scenarios? So I have, I let me give me a second. I'll take the test document. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing. So this is a test plan document. So once you write all the user stories, and then like you are like, okay, now you have a proper understanding with the developers and testers. Some department will have like a separate testing team, but in some projects, right, mostly the business analyst only will be testing. Okay, so this is a test plan document. So purpose of this document is like you're going to write all the test scenarios. For example, here you'll be having this is the table of contents for the test plan document. So what is the purpose of this document? What are the scenarios that are in scope and out of scope? How are we going to test and how are we going to validate? And if there are any defects, how are we going to fix those defects? And how are we going to get the sign off? Okay, so you will be like, this is not like a standard document, but I'm just giving you one template of how this can be. So accordingly you can change, depending upon which team you're working, you can change. So for first of all, there are like three types of testing, right? So whether you're doing unit testing means like, first of all the developer will test. Okay, so once they develop, right? Yes. So developer will test. Okay, so he will be testing in his dev environment. So when we say dev environment means the environment where he is developing the code. Okay, the environment wherever he's developing the code, right? In that environment, he will be like testing. Okay, he'll mock up some test data and he will test. Once he is like fine, then only the code will be going into QA environment. So there are three types of environment. One is dev environment, one is QA environment, one is, and in some projects you may have UAT environment, and then finally it is production environment, right? So first unit testing will happen in the dev environment. And once the developer like what they will test, for example for this project, like what they will test is like whether that online option is available, or if they're able to, once they log in, right, if they are a registered user, once they log in they are able to opt in. And if someone third party, if they send us request, like give us the medical records for this member, valid member, then if they have selected opt-in option, then we are going to send those records. Otherwise we are saying that we need this person has not automatically opted in, so we cannot send this. Something like error message has to be thrown. Or if that person has a policy protected information, then without having the authorization on file, we are not supposed to send records. So these are different scenarios, right? For all these scenarios, this developer will be doing some initial kind of testing. Once this is tested, so next we have something called functional testing. Functional means like, for example, online, no, for they have to log in, they have to register, then they have to like make sure everything like properly they're able to opt in, or they're able to opt out. Or if external entity is giving some kind of authorization request, we need to make sure those are updated on the file, and we are properly throwing the success or error message back. So when they send us a request, right? So when they send us a request, we need to make sure that we get the intake request. Okay, and our system is able to identify that we have an intake request for sending medical records. And if we have to send the response, if it is a no policy information, then we can direct, without even having opt-in options, we can send them the records. Otherwise we are not supposed to send. So all these are functional testing. Like every scenario you have to test. Okay, everything, intake request, opt-in option, opt-out option, everything, like you have to test one by one. So once that functional testing is finished, final you have to do is whatever you're doing is called as user acceptance testing. UAT is nothing but end-to-end testing completely. So now what, from the member portal to paper to, okay, so from the member portal to paper, all the options you're testing now. Okay, end to end, everything, whatever I'm talking, right? Everything you are going to test. So, for example, all the options, however means by person can opt in and opt out, everything we are testing. Okay, by person we are testing. We are asking some business owners to go to this healthcare facility and drop the by paper. So we are asking them to do manually. Okay, before we go live, we are asking business owners to do this. Okay, so we are asking them to drop in their facility. We will test that by paper, we will test by mail, we will test by fax also, we will test. So for all this you need to have sufficient test data. So when we say sufficient test data, you can of course coordinate with business owners, make sure every scenario is covered. Online it is very easy. Okay, some dummy members, five to 10 members, you can create like online accounts and you can ask them to opt in. That is very easy for business owners to do. But if it is in person, by mail or by fax, they have to give them this paper, all these forms, ask them to download on their home, or if they're in their office, of course, if they're coming to office, ask them to download and then write you are going to give the member full name, first name, because in the database it needs to be a valid member, right? So you're going to give this all this dummy data to them and then ask them to sign and put the date and all. And either they can, like, however you want to test, they can either send it a mail, or this you can they can go to that veteran health facility, they can drop it there, or by fax also. All for all this region, of course there will be test region. We are not doing this in production region. It's not a real member, right? These are like dummy fake members that you're creating for testing. So you have to make sure that they are valid members in our database. They need to be valid, otherwise our system database will be throwing error like invalid member. So these are valid members, they are valid test members in our database. And you have to like guide the business owners, saying that please fill this form, because you cannot do that. This is UAT, means user acceptance testing. Business owners they are doing, but you are helping them. Okay, so you make share all the scenarios and ask them to do everything. And once you receive all the data, and you can test, okay, once you get the paper document in the database, you can check whether it's updated, or if they're opted out, whether that is updated in the database backend, you can check and you can share the results with them. Like for example, like this is the scenarios that we asked you to test, and this is what the expected results, and we got the expected results. So that is user acceptance testing. That is the final testing before we go live. Okay, so unit testing and functional testing, this mostly ID team will do. So this one developers will do, this one like QA people will do. But user acceptance testing means it is business owners only they are going to do, but you will be helping them because they are non-technical people. They will have zero idea about how to test these scenarios. Okay, so you have to like cooperate with them, make sure they do everything on time, make sure they fill the forms properly, drop it properly, scan it properly. So all this, like, you have to guide them. And next is, what is regression testing? Regression testing means basically you don't have any kind of development to do. You're just checking like if, for example, like you're making sure the documents are like, I'll take a scenario for regression testing. So if you see here, so you're just checking that all this, there is no development required for regression testing, right? So you're just making sure it's working. So for example, online, of course, we know that the scenarios we have got. For example, let's say paper. Okay, so paper, right? The person is scanning it. Okay, it is loaded into the database. It is somewhere stored in some system at the back end, and the indicator is also updated. Okay, so regression testing means you don't have, like, for example, like you're just making sure that is loaded. Okay, you don't have any kind of development to do, or you don't have any kind of like um, testing to do, right? So it's already automatically it is done. You are just making sure something negatively is not happening. For example, if it's loaded, that's okay. If suppose it's not loading with into the system, or if that indicator is not updated, so you're just only checking that negative part of the testing, right? So that is regression testing. So it's not like actual end-to-end testing. It is like a part of testing that you do. You're making it sure that it is loaded properly, or there is no development required. So that is regression testing. So partially you're checking here and there. Okay, and so depends upon like how the business owners or it all these testing, right? It's not in every team everybody is doing all this kind of testing. Depending upon your project, your company, and of course the process you follow, your testing will change. But as a BA, you have to you have to know what are the different types of testing, and you need to have some kind of testing experience. This will help in the interview. Just plain vanilla BA, like if you know only the basics of BA terminologies and all, like nowadays, like people are they don't want to hire such people because they want people who like technically understanding the back end in IT department end to end what is happening and how to like whether this person will be able to like coordinate with the business owners at the final end stage before the like the pre go live, right? Before we go live, you'll be solely responsible. Developer will go. You'll be like finally responsible for all this kind of coordination and paperwork. So the nowadays expectation is like business analysts must know all these procedures, okay, before we go live. So what is the exit criteria? So we are going to make sure that all the test scripts are executed. We are going to have and this one, right? How much pass rate of test scripts, all that we have to like coordinate with the business owners, and we have to make sure we don't have any kind of defects. If there are any defects, right, we are going to fix the defects. And then how long it will take to fix the defects, what is a defect tracker, and we are going to make sure we are going to write all the test cases, test scenarios, and if anything during the testing we find some defects, we are going to document all the defects. So how to document the defects? Again, I can go to this Jira board and I'm going to click on create. And I'm here, I'm going to click on bug. Bug means defect, and you're going to document the defects. For example, I was trying to submit the opt-in option, but it was throwing some kind of error like that. You will be um, unable to opt in. Okay, like this, you will be like creating defects, and you will be adding in this template also because there is that paper. So if you see here, right? Yeah. So what are the three types of defects or four types of defects? One is like critical defect, high level, medium and low. Critical means immediately functionality is blocked. We cannot progress the testing. So we have to like make sure it is currently we have to fix that defect. That is critical. High means functionality is not able to is not usable, and we need some time. It may be 24 hours or 48 hours. Medium 3 points is like, for example, maybe within 5 days or something. Low point is like not right now. Maybe it's something cosmetic errors that can be done in next sprint too. So like this, right, you have to like understand what are the different types of defects, what are the severity of the defects, and you're going to fix the defects before we go live. And also we are going to get the sign off. So once you give this document to them, and then once the business owners are happy with all this kind of testing, now you get the UAT approval. And once you get the approval, only then this project can go live. So this is end to end. So first is like you create the BRD. Okay, you create that BRD from starting. For example, this project, it was the BRD was started from March 2015. BRD was completed in September 14, 2016. Okay, takes about like 1.5 years to complete the BRD. So you gather all the requirements, write down everything like all the epics, user stories, end-to-end data flow. Like for example, here you have process flow diagrams and all the user access levels. And if you see here, there is
Pratibha, you are on mute, I guess.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking on mute. So okay, so finally, once you before you go live, you're going to make sure all these service level agreements, right? So questions like, for example, how many users will be accessing this website, okay, every hour, how many people will there, how many transactions will happen, and mostly what is the peak user time, and if there is anything like some kind of incident, right, how long it will take for the system um, to recover. For example, like something happens, the whole web portal is getting crashed, nobody is able to log in. So what is the downtime? Whether the system will be available on the weekends, and whether the system will be able to back up like 100%. If something crash is happening on the web portal, once we go live, whether all the data during, if someone is sending some kind of data, whether that it will be in the back end, whether you can we back up all the data, and when will the maintenance happen, and what are the time zones that we are operating. So we are operating on all time zones. These are some of the post go live, what will happen to these systems, and how, what is our capacity and performance, and how are we going to do that. Warranty period will be there, mostly it will be like 30-day warranty period or 40-day warranty period. So after that also you are responsible. During that warranty period, something breaks after go live, okay, something is like, for example, something crashes, any system can crash, okay. So if something happens, you will be the person whom they will contact, and you have to make sure that because you only know end to end, right? So they will contact you, they will raise incident tickets, and you have to like coordinate with your production support team, make sure the business owners are not panicking because they are real time members. Something action, some issues are happening in province, the actual members are being impacted. So for that, before they get scared, you just put all this in the BRD, okay. So so that they have some kind of understanding of when this system will be back and up and running, okay, because otherwise they'll be constantly pinging you. And yeah, so I think also business risk and mitigation, right? So what is this? So in case something we are not testing, okay, we don't have a data set, so we, for example, we cannot test all the scenarios. So for some, of course, some scenarios we can test, but for some scenarios, if we don't have that significant data, so the proof of concept has not been tested with a statistically significant data set data, right? For example, you don't have some data, or you have very small amount of data, and in that case, you're telling the business owners that there is a risk here. Okay, so if you don't test it properly, we don't know what will happen in production. Are you okay with that? Let me take a scenario. So for example, this opt-in option, let's say that if the member is like going to, when we talk about sign in, okay, so home, but in during registration, it's going to ask me like that this field is mandatory, but whether it is valid or not, we don't know. That check we are not here in the business requirements, like we don't have sufficient data to test. And if it's going to be invalid, what is the process? If the email ID is invalid, should we throw an error? Or if the phone number is invalid, we are trying to call, we are not able to send authorization request, what are we going to do? All this will be in risk tolerance. Okay, the possibility of accept an error, right, during this using the pilot data, all this will be under risk tolerance. And we are going to make sure that all the, like that small risk, that wherever you think that as a BA you will understand that this will be a problem in production. People are not going to give you right email IDs, or people are going to do some kind of typo errors, or sometimes they mismatch the numbers, and that will not be a real phone number. So in that case, what are we going to do? Some of the business risk and mitigations, like what can be done, and how are we going to, like whether business is having that kind of tolerance, or whether that will be a compliance rule, or whether it is against a privacy regulations rule. So that you have to clearly document down. We have done our type of testing, all the scenarios, but something exceptions, right, we are always, you're going to put it in the BRD, so that business is aware of those risks, okay. Okay, so once this is done, I think once you get the approval for the BRD, and also for the user acceptance testing document, and also for once we have the um, once we near, there will be a no go go or no go call. Okay, that's a final call you're going to have with the business owners, and you're asking them, can we go live this weekend? And they are like, okay, everything is fine, and even the risk, we are fine. And they're going to like say, okay, we can go. Once you get that permission, only then we can deploy the code to production, and there'll be an actual go live happening. Usually be in the weekends only, like maybe Friday night or Saturday morning. Okay. So anybody have any questions?
Pradipa, like you said, like in the BRD, like the year you have shown, right? Like it took almost 1 year or in that way, like in that particular BRD.
Yes.
Once we have been completed after the BRD, then only we will start the work, means developers will work or parallelly it will be going on.
No, no, no. BRD, we have to like get sign off.
Acha.
Yeah, because without that we cannot start, right? So BRD means once we get the sign off approval and all, only then we are going to start working.
So here comes the role only like in the initially like with the BA and like product owner, higher management only will be involved, right? Once it gets signed up, then it will be we'll be working collaboratively with the IT team.
No, see, for that's the problem, right? So you will not be understanding the whole nuances of the, like technically you will not be aware, right? What is happening. So mostly you will get confused in product. Like right now, I'm showing you the end product so that you can understand.
That yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but in real time, you will also be lost. Like you will not know expectations, and I will never ask you to be in that risk position, right? So my recommendation is always have a developer, take a help of a developer.
Acha.
Okay,
So
some engineer, yeah, some engineer you have to take that help. Otherwise, you it's going to be, unless you have like vast experience, it's going to be very difficult for you to write this document.
got it.
Mhm. So this may look easy, but you remember you're going to
Yes.
do everything from scratch by yourself. Yeah.
See, by seeing like how the web page and all, we are able to say like, yeah, by this we can say. But in reality, like we can't see that page. We need to like
Mm. You
draw
have to
the
imagine.
diagrams,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
have to ask the business people how it should be, and we have to
Mm.
get the approval or in that way. Then only we can proceed, right?
Right. I will never take a risk of doing everything by myself, because when I have a team paid, they are going to get built and everything. I will be like asking all my engineers help, and as much as possible make sure this is a coordinated effort, and it is not by one person. We don't want, it's a huge project, right? Also, it's like mostly there are a lot of compliance issues in this project, so we're going to make sure we have the right technical crew to help you.
One more question, Pradeepa.
Mhm.
Like, this is state project you are talking about, but if it's like a private company or something like that, and if they are following agile principles, so still they like the BA needs to write BRD, or they will be relying upon only user stories or something like that.
Yeah, this is a hybrid model, but if it's a completely agile, 100% agile, then you won't be writing the BRD. Everything will be like basically epics and user stories and task.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I hope you guys can understand a little bit about how a real-time project will be there. So, is there? Do you have any other questions? Okay, so I think then we are good. Okay, thank you for everyone for joining. Hope the session was useful, and I'll make sure I'll create some interview questions based upon this project. Maybe some 20 to 21, 25 questions, and then upload it later, maybe next week. Okay, so that if you're having something in your resume similar to this project, if you want to add in your resume, you can prepare using that questions, and you can modify the answers accordingly and answer in the interview. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Pradeepa. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye.